This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain. All too often, we start our newscast with reports of car crashes and highway fatalities. Well, tonight, we begin with the stories of the families that are left behind, people who are grieving terrible loss, and people whose own lives have been changed forever. Here and Now's Carolyn Stokes spoke with some of those people today. Carolyn?
Well, Anthony, today was a painful day for people who have lost loved ones in car crashes. Today is the National Day of Remembrance for road crash victims. Now, those victims aren't just people killed in car crashes. The victims are also the survivors, the injured, the grieving families whose lives have been shattered. This morning, many of those victims gathered together for a ceremony at RNC headquarters in St. John's. They mustered the strength to tell their stories of loss to a room full of people. Their stories were different, but there was one common thread. All those road crashes were preventable. They happened because someone wasn't paying attention or was reckless. Here are just a few of those stories.
Hello, my name is Sarah Pittman. My husband Shannon Pittman was killed in a car accident on April 19th, 2016, caused by a distracted driver.
And I'm Frankie Ralph. My husband was Randy Ralph, who was also a passenger with Shannon, and lost his life that day as well in a distracted driving accident. Carpooling from work. They were teachers at the Whitburn Youth Centre, and they were coming home to us that day, a beautiful sunny day.
Dodge Ram pickup that came off the exit near Butterpop Park, traveling at an excessive rate of speed, carrying in it a stolen ATV. That driver lost control of the vehicle and ended up in the median. As this was happening, our husbands, who were traveling in a RAV4 SUV, were coming upon the scene of this accident and appropriately slowing their vehicle. They had slowed to about 12 kilometers an hour when a cube van, being driven by a delivery driver, smashed into the back of their vehicle at full speed of 98 kilometers an hour. Randy was killed on impact.
On impact of the truck.
During the impact of the truck. My husband, who was the passenger in the front seat of the vehicle, he sustained a massive head injury. Shannon was declared brain dead 24 hours after the accident and was removed from life support and died.
Randy was still in that vehicle that was mangled on the road. They couldn't get him out, and I didn't know where anything else that was going on with Shannon or anybody. I didn't know what to do but wait, and it wasn't until that night that someone came and told me that Randy's passed. Never a part like that, that day I didn't get to say goodbye. We didn't get to say goodbye, did we?
No, we never got to say goodbye.
That split second, those 2 seconds.
So all this was caused by a distracted driver.
Hi, my name is Gail Thorne, and I'm the mother of Hannah Thorne. My daughter was killed July 7th, 2016 by 2 men who were street racing. They crossed over on a double solid line and went head-on with my mother's small car. And the impact was so great and the speed, the truck just completely ran over my mother-in-law's car. It's very difficult to get up in the morning and realize that your daughter is not here with you anymore because of somebody's actions. My heart aches every time I think of Hannah. Every time I look at a picture, my heart just aches for her. Crashes don't have to happen like this. It's all human error, and most road crashes can be stopped. And it's just pure neglect, negligence that most of these crashes happen.
Well, my name is Marina White.
Randy White.
Randy is my son. 20 years ago, Randy had the world by the tail. His intentions were to eventually join the RNC. And he had his application on his night table to fill out pass in that week. But Saturday night then he was involved in the accident. Horrific accident.
Bad accident.
So In order to prevent from hitting someone that had cut in front of him, he swerved his Jeep and it rolled over, ended up in the ditch upside down. And of course with Jeeps, you know, the roof collapsed and the roll bars collapsed, and Randy sustained a traumatic brain injury. Randy spent over a year in hospital in the Miller Center, and he had to learn how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, you know, simple things that everybody takes for granted.
My life ruined. Shocking.
And it's an accident that was preventable, you know, a distracted driver.
Yes, today was a very hard day for those families. They all told me they have one hope, that sharing their pain may save a life by causing you and me to always be a mindful driver. I got that message today, and it will also make me hug my loved ones a little tighter tonight. Anthony?
It's Cameron Stokes reporting live for us tonight. To other news now, to the West Coast, an 18-year-old was arrested after a number of crimes overnight in Corner Brook. At about 9:30 last night, police got a call about a man trying to steal an ATV from someone's backyard. When officers arrived, they discovered another break-in just a few houses away. And about an hour later, police got a call about an armed robbery at a business on Country Road. An officer who later tried to arrest the suspect was assaulted. The teen was eventually tracked down at around 2 o'clock in the morning and now faces a long list of charges. Well, Fisheries Minister Germain is taking credit for trying to get Mi'kmaq Chief Michelle Joe to address the House of Assembly. The First Nations chief from Conn River has asked to speak to the legislature after accusations of racism were leveled. Germain accused NDP MHA Jim Dinn of showing a pattern of behavior of marginalizing Indigenous people. Also, recently, Liberal MHA Perry Trimper had to resign as a cabinet minister over comments that he left unintentionally on a voicemail. Now, in a video that he posted to social media, Byrne says Michelle Joe addressing the House would be historic.
The past 48 hours were pretty intense, but so too were the past 8 weeks. Democracy is sometimes messy, but it can work. Racism is an issue in this province that cannot be simply swept aside. We may not always recognize the words that define racism. We may not always recognize the faces of racism, but they are present around us each and every day. It's also inherent in some of our institutions. The very institutions that we create to identify and safeguard against racism need to look more closely at themselves to see how they can do a better job. That includes our legislature. To have helped set the stage for an historic meeting, province to nation, leaders to leaders, will be a highlight of my parliamentary career. From a historic perspective, it has rarely happened. From a First Nations perspective, it has never happened. Such a sharing of time on the floor of the House of Assembly is a rarity. It should not be. It's my hope that having Sakama Michelle Joe as the first First Nations chief to address the legislature on the reality of racism in our province and on the steps that are needed to remove it will be a turning point in this battle. Thank you to all who stand up against racism.
A troubled provincial ferry is out of service once again. The Veteran is in dry dock for an estimated $1 million worth of work. That includes thruster as well as ramp repairs, plus an annual inspection and some general maintenance. The work is expected to be finished in early December. Until then, the Legionnaire will be handling the run to Fogo Island as well as Change Islands, and the Beaumont Hamel and Flanders are covering Bell Island.
The province is trying to attract and retain immigrants, and this business incubator, Genesis, is helping do that. I'll tell you how up ahead. Temperatures were a little bit warmer today for parts of the province. We're starting to see some showers move through the west coast. Higher elevations, you're already seeing some flurries. That's going to continue as we head through the night tonight, and that's thanks to a low pressure system that is developing and is going to strengthen and towards the weekend, well, through the weekend really, already prompting some special weather statements along the west coast. Wind warnings in place for the northeast coast and then up through Labrador. This could be quite the storm actually along the coast. We've got winter storm warnings in effect already. With wind warnings, you're looking at gusts near 80 to 120 kilometers per hour. I'll have all the details on what to expect this weekend coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. A traditional Indigenous sweat lodge has been built just meters away from the RCMP's headquarters in St. John's. The police force says it's a step towards respecting and including Indigenous cultures. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
It's a time for reconciliation, and reconciliation for us now is a coming together between ourselves and the Indigenous peoples of our province.
The new sweat lodge is here at the RCMP headquarters in St. John's. Out of respect for the wishes of Indigenous leaders, CBC News has agreed not to show images of it. RCMP leaders say it's something like a sacred church for Christians.
It's a place for cleansing and the deepest expression of a person's spiritual character. So the sweat lodge and the grounds house the sacred fire. They cannot be filmed or photographed in any way.
Essentially, the sweat lodge is a wooden dome. It's made of branches of birch and alder. It's covered in blankets and tarps. Inside, there are rocks that are heated. Water is poured on those rocks to create intense amounts of steam and heat. They say it's a very powerful experience.
I've been through sweat lodges before, and I've come out a changed person on each and every occasion.
Parsons says the ceremony can be physically and emotionally challenging, but he says it ultimately helped him.
In my case, it took away some of the pain of the loss of some of my friends to duty, and that's something that it's hard to overstate the value of that.
RCMP Sergeant Troy Bennett is a Mi'kmaq member of the Halipuu Nation. He has been a traditional drummer and participated in many sweats. The RCMP did share these images with CBC News. Bennett helped build the lodge here at the RCMP headquarters, and he took part in the first sweat lodge ceremony held on these grounds.
It was a surreal moment, knowing that this is here, that we can avail to in the future. It's hard to explain it in words, but it's a very, very surreal, and it's a very powerful thing for me.
The RCMP says the new sweat lodge will be here at its headquarters in St. John's forever, and it says it will try to make it available for anyone who wants to use it for healing. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Entrepreneurs from Nigeria, Bangladesh, India, and South Africa are building tech businesses in St. John's, and they've been able to immigrate here through Canada's Startup Visa. It's a program that's open to promising, innovative people from anywhere in the world. Here Now's Katie Breen has this look at how the program works.
Hey Dana, so I'm going to show you.
The Startup Visa was made for people like Isaac Adejuwan. He's building a growing tech business in online analytics. His company developed tracking code that doesn't use cookies. Adejuwan is originally from Nigeria, but just got his permanent residency through the startup program.
Click on this, for example, and then generate the reports.
That's awesome.
To be eligible, applicants need to build a company with the potential to create jobs and compete on a global scale. They need sales, users, and a letter of support from one of 60 organizations in the country that are allowed to vouch for ideas. Groups like venture capital funds, business incubators, and angel investor groups.
That letter itself kind of validates that someone wants to talk to you, or someone thinks you're working on, something that might be maybe profitable or might be worthwhile in the future.
Genesis, Memorial University's business incubator, has given out 7 support letters in 2 years. To get the Genesis seal of approval, entrepreneurs have to be willing to live and work in the province. Then they're enrolled here, in the Hub's 3-year enterprise program designed to foster and grow new businesses.
It is allowing us to attract and retain world-class talent to build technology companies that compete globally and hire and create wealth here in the province.
Metrics Flow, Adejuwan's company, is about to pick up. Top investors have just committed a significant amount of money, and there's even more interest. His plan is to grow from 4 employees up to 20, and soon. Adejuwan first came to St. John's to study engineering at MUN. After graduating, he created the business that allowed him to immigrate permanently. He says the province has everything a startup needs to be successful, and he has no intentions of moving.
I mean, I really enjoy the people, living with really great friends, and it's almost been my second home now, so it's been exciting.
The Startup Visa program is always taking applications. The form is available on the Genesis website. Katie Breen, CBC News, St. John's.
Okay, I'm not saying it was a really cold day this morning, but I think I broke my raking leaves because they were kind of chunky and
This
together.
morning.
Yes, well,
You were up and at 'em
before
early.
it's dark, right? Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, it's a little chilly.
A little?
Just
yes,
a little bit.
a lot.
First time we actually reached the minus double digits in some cases. Let's take a look at where we sat this morning as you left. Minus 13 in Badger was the overnight low. Minus 4 in Corner Brook. Minus 3 here I almost said Yellowknife, in St. John's. And we're seeing temperatures in the minus double digits as well, up through Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Nain. Now, this afternoon, we did recover quite nicely, actually, back up into the single digits, 3 degrees for Badger, same for St. John's. And where we're sitting right now, we're starting to see those temperatures actually climb along the west coast, 5 degrees in Port Basque, 6 degrees in Burgeo, and we're sitting at the 0 degree mark here in St. John's. Now here's a look at the low pressure system that is going to affect us as we head through the overnight tonight. We do have that warm front. That's why those temperatures are climbing and will along the west coast tonight, and then that will track further east by morning as well. We've got another area of low pressure developing as well. So these two, essentially this low pressure system is going to move quite quickly, and then it's this cold front and this low that's going to strengthen. That's prompting those warnings that I showed you a little bit earlier. So here's a look at what the future tracker is saying. So we've got plenty of snowfall up through Labrador. There's that warm front that's going to push through. In the higher elevations, though, you're still looking at that potential for some snow tonight, heavy at times, especially up around Gross Moor. And you'll see that rain will spread east as we head through the overnight. So this takes us through 10 p.m. tonight, making its way towards the metro in the early morning hours. And as that cold front sweeps through, those temperatures drop like a rock in behind it. Again, we get back into that onshore setup, which means the potential for some flurries and some snow squalls right along with it. So here's a look at your overnight lows. Again, reaching the single digits, probably around 6 or 7 degrees along the west coast, and then you'll see those temperatures drop to about 1 degree by morning, and your winds will eventually ease as well. Not for long. And then we've got those temperatures in the single digits. Grand Falls winds are through to St. John's, 7 degrees tonight. Those winds really ramping up by morning out ahead of that cold front. 50 to 80 kilometer per hour winds out of the south. Your winds will shift up for the straits anywhere from the southeast to the southwest and ramp up as well from 60 to 80 kilometers per hour. And you'll see that rain or snow tonight. And that's just because your temperatures are going to be falling into the overnight. So there's a look in behind that as we see some snow squall potential for tomorrow afternoon. And then we could even see the few flurries, because as that cold front moves through, those temperatures are really going to drop down. So for the Avalon, we could see a few flurries. Likely will not accumulate too much, but then we'll start to see things ramp right back up again along coastal Labrador. And we do have some warnings in place there. And especially those winds is what we're really going to notice. So here's where we're going. We're going to take us through to Saturday morning. Again, those winds for the Avalon quite strong, even more so into the evening and overnight along the northeast coast, where we have those wind warnings in place, 95 to 120 kilometers per hour. And then we do have those strong winds along the coast as well. So here's a look at what we're expecting as far as temperatures go. 9 degrees is the morning high for St. John's, and then those temperatures will drop and you'll sit in the single digits essentially across the board. And you're looking at flurries pretty much tomorrow with those windy conditions. -8 for Lab City, and then along the coast, northwesterlies anywhere from 80 to 100 kilometers per hour. Now we'll talk about the amounts, how much rain and how much snow is on the way coming up.
Well, prom dresses have taken over the basement of the Elks Lodge in Gander. The group is launching a new program tomorrow to pair up used and donated dresses with graduating students. Here now's Garrett Barry takes a look.
In all shapes and all sizes, they hope there's something for everyone.
This one is my favorite, I must say, because I love purple, so I'm partial to that color.
And every single dress is a donation. Some were worn for only 2 hours. Some weren't worn at all.
I put it out on Facebook. The next thing, we had an incredible outpouring of people coming with these gowns.
There's a few more tweaks required.
All the store you go buy fancy dress and gowns, they got a platform and mirrors, so we try to give them the same experience.
But by tomorrow, this should be a one-of-a-kind prom shopping experience. The difference? You find a dress you like, then you just take it. No cash, no applications.
We don't want to put up any barriers. We don't want people to feel that there's only a certain group of people that we are going to help. We can help anybody. It does not matter. Just because people live in a big house doesn't mean they can afford an $800 gown. And some of these gowns are valued at that kind of money.
She says they're trying to make sure prom is for everyone.
Oh, graduating high school is a huge accomplishment, and it needs to be celebrated. And if this is how they celebrate it, then why should they not be included?
Right now it's just prom dresses here in the basement, but the Elks Lodge members say they're also looking at adding suits and tuxedos, maybe in the new year or maybe for the next prom season.
They've already heard that there is a stigma attached to a used dress, so they're trying to fight back.
That's why we're making it private sessions, and we're making it open to the young ladies to come with their families. And the way we're going to have this set up, we're hoping that it's a very, almost like a private dress shop.
That shop opens up for the first time tomorrow, and they want these dresses to move because there's more on the way. Ferry, CBC News, Gander.
Welcome back to Here and Now. Our province spends more on interest payments on the debt than it does on education. There's angst over the impending spike in our electricity bills, and we are the only province in Canada where the population is shrinking. And this week, politicians in the legislature were fixated on Fisheries Minister Gerry Byrne and accusations he made about racism and criminality of opposition MHAs.
I've constantly found from this honourable member, and it is a pattern of behaviour. A pattern of behaviour.
Ask the member to direct his comments towards the chair.
A pattern of behaviour of marginalization of Indigenous, and I will speak to that. I'll speak to that.
I asked if you regretted making those comments.
Whenever there is unparliamentary language that's spoken, of course, that is not the tone that the House expects. The House and the will of the House was spoken, and I very much, I withdrew the comments.
Well, it was quite the week in the House of Assembly. It's time for the talk. Well, joining me to discuss politics are John Sams, a former advisor to the Premier, as well as Lorraine Michael, former leader of the NDP, and Keith Hutchings, former PC, MHA, and a cabinet minister. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Now, after the election, and I think you were all busy on election night, one for another network that shall remain nameless, minority government, we were all talking about, in the future, this is something unprecedented, it's been a long time, that we would see greater cooperation between the parties. John Sams, what's your assessment of what has happened?
Well, I guess if we're going to go all the way back to election night, I guess the minority atmosphere started off with the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party stating that he was hoping to have the Premier's head on a platter. So I don't think that the whole idea of working together got off on the right foot. But I think that's part of what we saw this week is that there's a real distinction to be made between policy discussion and pure politics. And I think that when you see pure politics happening in the House of Assembly, we all get a bit of collective indigestion, and I think that's part of what we saw.
Well, I was in the House and expecting to report on actual policy discussions, but the procedural process of this, it gobbled up 2 full days where everything was about Gerry Byrne and his comments. Lorraine Michael, what do you make of this?
Well, one of the things the House has said it's very concerned about, and I was on the committee that worked on this, was decorum in the House as well. And if a minister is going to go against parliamentary language in the House of Assembly, there is a responsibility to call it. And I think that the Premier has a responsibility to make sure that his cabinet ministers are behaving the way he wants them to behave so that the kind of thing that happened this week won't happen.
Keith Hutchings, Mr. Sam suggested that the tone was set by chess on election night, wanting the Premier's head on a platter. What do you make of this week?
I think it's almost set by the Premier and the Leader of Government of today in the legislature. I think they stayed back maybe a little bit before the election in regards. We went through a process of harassment in the House of Assembly. A Previous Elections Committee was struck to look at that. There was a lot of work done. Training was put in place, and then we evolve into a new legislature with a minority and with that new training in place. But yet we see this kind of action taking place where we're diverting from the important issues of today and getting sidetracked on issues that is not helping the democratic process in this province.
So when you mentioned diverting, I guess the question, and you can take this if you want, but there is a sense that the initial question was about aquaculture and salmon, and now it's become about Indigenous rights and racism, which are important issues. But is racism really the most important issue facing our province right now?
I think it's certainly an issue. I think Chief Mizo Joe basically stated that it's an issue, and I'm certainly going to take his word for that. But I think part of what we saw here too, it started off with a policy debate on the salmon issue, but then it turned into politics. And I think part of the issue that we saw this week with 2 days being spent on this was that it was actually a motion for breach of parliamentary privilege by the Progressive Conservatives. Mr. Crosby said that he just wanted to get the statement withdrawn. If that's what he wanted, the proper procedure would have actually been just a simple point of order. Speaker could have said to him, you have to withdraw right now, wouldn't be 2 days. There was politics at play that led to this being a breach of parliamentary privilege complaint. Right. And with the new speaker in place, I think that things went off the rails in a way that it typically wouldn't.
Scott Reid, yeah.
But the politics happened because of the minister not sticking to the policy that he was being questioned on. Yes. And that's what has to be hit. And the minute he did that, a message should have been sent to him from his leader. Boy, this is not good. And that's where it started. Jim said himself, Jim Dinn, in the scrum that I watched on the news last night, and I do watch this channel, he did say, all I want is an answer to my question. And the question is a very serious question about what has happened with regard to the salmon, about aquaculture, and in the list of issues that's concerning the province right now, aquaculture and its impact on fishery and what's going to happen with aquaculture to make it sustainable and good for the environment and good for the fishery is a major issue, and the minister is not dealing with that issue, and that's what led to what happened, and I'm not going to move from that.
At one point in the whole debate, Jerry Byrne accused the opposition of gaslighting him, making him believe that things that were true were untrue, and I wonder if the whole issue that we saw this week doesn't raise the question of a policy decision or a possible policy decision to bring up a new legislative behavior and complaint mechanism. And this is something that I know you two worked on in a committee. And it's also something that the new minister responsible for the status of women brought up yesterday. Let's take a look. What role will you and your department be taking in that process?
I think that as a question would be better directed to the minister.
I just want to come back to the harassment policy because two of your caucus colleagues, Pam Parson, Sherry Gammon-Walsh, they were at the center of what started this. And I wonder, given the fact that you've been elevated to this position, if you don't have a responsibility to have a role in a new harassment policy or anti-harassment policy.
I haven't been given a role to date.
They haven't asked for any of your input on it?
My department, yes, they've asked for input, and we always look at papers as they come forward and as they go up the ladder, but I have not been asked directly, no.
But do you feel you should take a leading role? I mean, all people...
I'm sure I will be.
You will?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so that's Caroline Haley speaking yesterday. Lorraine Michael?
Well, the thing is, we have, I think, an excellent report that is now tabled in the House. It was tabled at the end of the last session before the election. Keith and I were both on the committee that worked on that. Hours and hours and hours of work went into it. Thousands of dollars went into it as well. And it is a report that comes from meeting with organizations both locally, nationally, and internationally who deal with this issue, looking at what happens in other jurisdictions, listening to individual surveys of MHA, surveys of all the staff of the House of Assembly, etc. And the report reflects the thinking of all of these people as best we could do it.
And it takes the complaint process outside to the citizens represented. But I don't want to go into all the details of that, but I wonder, the Premier, when the whole bullying thing happened, said this was a priority, and this was unanimously accepted by the House, right?
Yeah.
Is dealing with a new procedure for complaints something that you think is still a priority of Dwight Paul's?
Absolutely. My understanding is that it's a priority to get it done this session, and I think that this session still has
It's not gone through the House yet.
It hasn't gone through yet, but my understanding is that it will go through this session. This is the very first session since those procedures took place. So, I mean, if it gets done this session, I think that's a box ticked in the context.
The point I'd like to make on that is that when we sat on that committee in 2018, we made the commitment that that would be completed, motion brought to the House and approved before the next election.
Right.
In the winter session of 2019, that was done, brought to the House, and it was the Liberal government and the House Leader today that left it on the order paper and did not get it approved. It was their choice to close the House.
Yeah.
They closed the House, and that motion to approve that harassment policy was not approved. It was not approved today. And I think there was mention in the last day or two it's coming to the House.
Right. Quick way to wrap this up. Sometimes things that were said, particularly this week, if I said them here at the CBC, I'd be disciplined. There are things that get said over in that place that are privileged, which if we said in other workplaces, you would be disciplined, maybe even fired. Do you think the public expects, the standard to be okay? Like there needs to be repercussions for these kinds of things, Mr. Hutchings?
I do. I think, I struggled over the past number of years as, being involved as deputy government House Leader, then opposition House Leader. You look at the parliamentary system and the Westminster system and what we adopted. Sometimes you look at it and say, God, this is archaic. It's not modern to the day. And I think we really need to look at, it's tough to do because that's our history and that's where we've come from. Yeah. But I think there really need to be a lens on that and how we operate in today's world.
Right.
Modernize it. Lorraine Michael?
I think one thing the public are expecting, and we have it in the report, and it's our recommendation, that if anything happens involving an MHA, that it be taken away from the MHA and parties to deal with, to be dealt with in a totally objectively. And that's why from step one, even the reporting, even asking a question in our report from step one on, it's a third party that's dealing with it and not the caucus or government or anybody.
John Sams, you get the final word.
Absolutely. I have to agree. I mean, I think that the legislature in many ways is still arcane. It's designed for times that have gone by, and it's time for modernization, and I think everybody's glad to see the steps that are coming.
There's still a golden club there, and there's still whips.
There's a mace and there's whips.
Yes.
Okay, well listen, it's good to see all of you again. Appreciate your time this evening, and I hope we get a chance to talk about politics again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Here and Now. Staying with politics, the minister responsible for the status of women is weighing in on the massage parlors debate, sort of. At the end of September, St. John's proposed lifting a ban on the new businesses. A moratorium has been in place for years, but the city's vote to lift the ban so that new massage parlors can open, somewhat controversial. Some say council shouldn't allow it until regulations for parlors are in place, and that is a provincial issue, not a municipal one. Sexual services are available at massage parlors, and there are concerns about the safety of workers. And at the House yesterday, I asked Caroline Haley, the minister responsible for the status of women, about her department's involvement. Does that mean your department's involved in the whole interrelationship with the city? Because the city has to come to the province before it can do this, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, you're
You're
involved?
asking me? No, I'm not involved. I did have meetings with them surrounding this prior to this coming down with the city. But no, I'm not directly involved. My department's not directly involved.
Well, what's your gut feeling? Do you like the idea of lifting a ban on massage parlors?
I have no comment.
From massage parlors to Christmas, difficult transition. Deck the halls with used coffee cups? Yeah, the holidays are just around the corner, but the Sustainability Society at Memorial University says we can celebrate without producing a great big pile of waste. And today the group held a contest to create Christmas decorations from everyday items and trash found on campus. And while you may not want the results in your living room, they did make everyone pretty merry. Check it out.
So it's called Best Out of Waste, and it's a recycling competition where we encourage students to use materials that they would have at home anyways, that is basically waste, to use and make something new out of it that has a Christmas theme.
Well, we planned sort of for like a gingerbread-ish theme, hence like the cardboard on the outside being brown. And we kind of like a grad student like dream house, you know, there's books and there's a fireplace and there's presents.
And there's no homework in sight. It's mostly like leftover packaging from like food and tissue boxes and that kind of thing.
These here are roasting sticks I found in my car. And I have a McDonald's cup up here from my cardigan. For me, I feel like, you know, I get like a lot of anxiety just from all the waste that we have. And whenever I go to throw something out, I always feel really guilty. So I was really hoping to get some sort of inspiration from this contest and like creating something cool and kind of create like a little winter wonderland, but like out of all recyclable materials now for the kids.
What we wanted to raise awareness about is how much we have coffee cups thrown a day at MON. So we went out and we dug in the garbage, believe it or not, and we made a structure into a Christmas tree. This way we're raising awareness and we're hoping to change people's habits and start using reusable mugs, for example.
If we've taken anything from this, it's the amount of cardboard and like waste products that we produce that we put into recycling, yes, but that doesn't mean that they're always being reused in the best possible way.
We'll be here again.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, we know. We could partner on it.
Welcome back. Well, since moving to St. John's 7 years ago, photographer Dave Howells doesn't shoot as many famous people as he used to, but then everything changed. Howells was hired to photograph former President Barack Obama during his stop in St. John's. And as he told the St. John's Morning Show, it wasn't his first time taking a president's picture.
So 5 minutes, you had 5 minutes to get what exactly?
Everything you can. It's with him on stage. It's different in that you know where he's going to be sitting down, and so you have with the handler you actually have a lot of freedom to move around for those 5 minutes, so you can get as many different shots as you possibly can. But the shot you're looking for is him laughing, looking Obama-esque. You know, he has a certain look that he over the years, and he's unbelievably relaxed in these situations because obviously he's an expert at this. You have no time to do anything. Ever. I guess that they don't want, a long-haired British guy roaming around with two giant cameras. The shortest ever one I ever did was 3 seconds and 5 frames with Prime Minister Gordon Brown in a hotel room at 1 o'clock in the morning. And the other one that was also ridiculously fast was 60 seconds with George Bush, W. And then it got the tap on the shoulder, and then he proceeded to talk to me about photography for 15 minutes, which was like you're sitting there going, why couldn't I have those 15 minutes? But as my wife always says, you've got 15 minutes to mess it up.
Interesting people to actually photograph. Pretty good, cool job.
That's a pretty good gig,
yeah. And I know he's been to some rough and interesting places around the world, but congratulations. What a great gig. A lot of photographers seething with envy, no doubt.
For sure. So, talk about the weather?
I was sort of like a deer in the headlights waiting for the bum weather.
Oh, weather sting, yeah.
Yeah, but we've had budget cuts, so so we're getting a bit of rain and some snow, right?
Yes, we're looking at rain and snow over the next couple of days, or really over the next 24 hours in some cases. And we're going to see that temperature drop. So we talked a little bit about that just earlier. Let's talk about some of the numbers. So here we go. As far as rainfall goes, this will happen tonight, and that's thanks to that warm front that I was talking about. Most of the rain, it looks like, will be for eastern Newfoundland. So we're looking at potentially upwards of 30 millimeters of rain falling tonight. This will take us through to tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, we're looking at about 10 millimeters for most of us. Along the south coast, you're looking at somewhere between 20 to 30 millimeters. And then it's that snow. So it'll quickly transition to cooler temperatures, which means everything that will fall along the west coast should fall as snow, and then flurries really across the island. So here's a look at the amounts. Now you can see here in the mountainous areas, we're looking at between 20 to 40 centimeters of snow falling, potentially. Otherwise, a good 5 to potentially 10 centimeters is possible. And then the most will be up along the coast with Hopedale to Makovic, anywhere from 20 to 40 centimeters of snow. So here's a look at the system. We've got that snow into tomorrow afternoon, and then as that low pulls away, the winds will eventually ease. But again, those strongest winds will be along the northeast coast tomorrow evening and then through Saturday morning. And then a ridge of high pressure moves in. The winds are still going to be quite strong, though, on Sunday, gusting anywhere from 40 to 60 kilometers per hour, but they'll still be below warning criteria. And it actually looks like a pretty lovely day. Should see a mix of sun and cloud. Maybe some onshore flurries will linger along the west coast, and then for western portions of Labrador, you're still looking at that potential for some flurries. And then really it's quiet into Monday. That's when the next system will roll in. We'll see some cloud cover move in with that, and a push of warm air as well. So here's a look at your temperatures on Sunday. Going to stay around the freezing mark, give or take a couple of degrees for the island, but again, plenty of sunshine. Still do have that risk of flurries along the west coast. -5 for Nain and sunshine, and Lab City -7. And again, you're hanging on to that chance of flurry. So here's a look at the next couple of days. There's that push of warm air I was talking about back in for next week. Sunday and Monday looking at sunshine, but then Tuesday and Wednesday look rainy. These numbers will jump or fall a little bit over the next couple of days, but that's what we're looking at. Definitely looking like we should reach the double digits. For central Newfoundland, not quite going to make it there, but still looking in those high single digits by the time the Tuesday and Wednesday rolls around. Take a little bit of time to get there, though. Sunday looks like you'll still be hovering around the 0 degree mark. Below 0 for western Newfoundland on Sunday, and then jumping back up. Look, 10 degrees it looks like by Tuesday, with overnight lows back into the single digits on the plus side of the mercury. And then for eastern Labrador, snow tomorrow, clearing as you head into for Sunday and Monday, and then flurries returning for both Tuesday and Wednesday. Could be heavy at times on Tuesday, but just looks like flurries for Wednesday. Essentially the same forecast for Western Labrador. A little bit cooler though, overnight lows sitting in the minus teens. Monday sunshine, and then return of that snow for both Tuesday and Wednesday. So we want to know where you're to. Take a look at this beautiful shot.
Oh, Terra Nova.
Well, we're giving you a little bit of a clue there. I'll tell you where this is to when we come back.
Time to look at who's celebrating birthdays and anniversaries. Happy 98th birthday, Isabel Power from Cupid's next Tuesday. And a happy 57th anniversary yesterday to Doris and Levi Quinlan in Birchie Bay. Harold and Carrie Yetman from Red Bay will celebrate 51 years together tomorrow. And 50th wedding anniversary congratulations today to Nancy and Percy Hilliard, who now live in Toronto. And happy 90th birthday this coming Monday to Mark Janes. A happy 90th birthday as well on Wednesday to Jesse Walsh from Knights Cove, now in Paradise.
Happy 98th birthday to Kezia Locke in Long Pond. Happy 94th birthday greetings tomorrow to Jack Elms from Port aux Basques. And happy 57th anniversary to Brenda and Stuart Ralph in Point Leamington. Happy 56th wedding anniversary to John and Susan Bromley in Conch. And happy 70th wedding anniversary to Raymond and Beatrice Randall in Angley. Calvin and Rita Barnes from Summerford, Notre Dame Bay will be celebrating their 55th wedding anniversary on November 19th.
And a happy 50th anniversary yesterday to Hazel and Wilmore Sims in St. Anthony. Happy 58th wedding anniversary to Gordon and Beulah Morgan in Seal Cove, CBS. And a happy 90th birthday on Wednesday to Esther Cox. Wilfred Davis from Lance Amour, now in Forto, celebrated his 100th birthday last Saturday. And a happy 100th birthday to Maggie Short in South Brook. And a happy 90th birthday to Louis Marsh in Port-au-Port West.
Edna Temple from Grand Falls, Windsor turns 90 this Sunday. Happy birthday. Happy 61st anniversary to George and Frances Bowles in Ramia this coming Monday. And happy 66th anniversary to Henry and Patricia Young in Grand Falls, Windsor. Happy 58th anniversary to David and Lorraine Best in Cox Cove. Happy 50th anniversary today to Walt and Elsie Rideout in Foxtrap. They married 50 years ago today.
And a happy 62nd anniversary to Mark and May Button in Wareham. Happy 91st birthday tomorrow to Hannah Park in McIvers. And a happy 93rd birthday this coming Wednesday to Annie Baker from Newman's Cove, now in Bonavista. A happy 91st birthday this Sunday to Lillian Power in Gull Island. And a happy 96th birthday this Saturday, tomorrow, to Joyce Newhook from Grand Falls, Windsor. A happy 95th birthday to Bernadette King from Lamoline, now in Grand Bank.
Maggie Short turned 100 on Wednesday. The happiest birthdays to Maggie. Edwin and Sandra White in Botwood celebrated their 53rd anniversary today. Happy 58th anniversary today to Stan and Lottie Mercer from Burgeo. And happy 56th anniversary to Anne and Jim Hickey in Terrenceville. Happy 60th anniversary tomorrow to Albert and Doreen Smith in St. John's. Happy 57th anniversary to Arch and Marie Rumbold in Mary's Harbor.
And a happy 100th birthday on Sunday to Edith Reardon in Tilting, Fogo Island. Happy 91st birthday to Ann Puddester in Bay Bowls. Harold Pafford in Corner Brook turns 95 this Sunday. Happy birthday. And a happy 102nd birthday today to Watson Budden from Sops Arm, White Bay. Frank and Verley Hoddenot of Embry will celebrate their 53rd anniversary on November 18th.
Doris and Max Smith in Hodges Cove celebrate 55 years of marriage on Sunday. Happy 64th anniversary this Sunday to Walter and Rowena Frost of Hillview, Trinity Bay. Happy 57th wedding anniversary today to Bill and Mary Jordan from Harbor Grace. Happy 50th anniversary yesterday to Melvin and Trudy Warren in Grand Falls, Windsor.
Yeah, congratulations. I think there are 5 centenarians, people who are 100 or more.
It's crazy.
Figure out what their secret is.
I know.
I was going to wind out on a Christmassy note. For those of you who didn't appreciate Carolyn Stokes' Christmas tree decorating earlier this week, you probably aren't going to love this item. Nonetheless.
Yeah, Christmas in Toronto. Hundreds joined tennis champ Bianca Adrescu at the Toronto Mall last night, where she lit up the city's first Christmas tree.
I remember actually coming last year to watch this being light up by Penny Olesiak, and now being able to do it is really incredible.
3, 2, 1!
Yeah, that's Ariana Kelland. No, that's not. That's but that spectacular tree there, 33 meters. That's pretty big, right? Maybe the highest in the city. And even Santa made a brief appearance along with the tennis star, although that's not Santa with the violin there. So if you're itching to put up your tree, maybe, here's a sign. It's not too early to get all Christmassy, so go ahead and get festive. Plus, you might want to do it before it gets too cold and miserable to actually get out there and do it.
Well, it's your inside, so.
That's true. And there they are.
Yes.
That's a beautiful scene.
It is a beautiful scene. The Christmas tree is already up at the mall, too.
Yeah. So there you go. Is yours up?
Nope.
Okay, I'll wait. I'll wait a bit.
I want to do it right now, though. I just want.
Are you getting Christmassy already?
I feel like it. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I don't know.
Well, that's nice to
Why
hear.
not?
There's enough grouches in our lives.
I'm not one of them.
No, that's good.
No, not even close.
I might be.
No.
I got the wrong golf course in my head.
You were close, though. You were so close. It is actually taken in Gander.
Yeah, I realized after my body of water was a river, not the ocean.
No,
and,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Beautiful shot.
It is so beautiful. So this was at sunset for the Gander Golf Course, and I want to thank Bert Peddle for sending that wonderful photo in. Thank you so much. And if you have any you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Of course, it's still pretty green too. All the leaves are gone, so I don't think that was taken too long ago.
I don't know if it was taken too long ago,
I
but
think so. Great shape. Try to get around in next year.
I know, I never did.
The weekend's upon us. I think for a lot of places, your leaf collection, the last one's coming up, so you might want to get to them if you haven't.
That's right. The winds don't blow it away.
That's my exciting weekend plan, and we'll see you on Monday.
Good night.